Hi, this is Sandy with SDS Digital and the Chords Sequarallel. Today, in this Tips and Tricks video number 6, we'll have a look at the auto-calibrating for a VCO and a new feature for TRAX recording by the step. So let's have a look under the Tune Quick box, which is the center for setting up VCOs you may want to use with a Sequarallel. While the defaults are pretty close, if you plan to have perfect intonation or use scala offsets, it's good to calibrate your VCOs. These can be custom named as well. We're going to set SDS VCO 3 to work nicely on row 1. Right now it's the default tuning, which may or may not be close. Let's see. Well, it's quite a bit off, but we could manually tune it up a bit. But then it would likely only work over a couple of octaves before going out. So let's calibrate to it. The gate from row 1 must be disconnected from the VCO's gate, so it outputs continuously. Then the audio output, which I have multed so we can hear it, must be patched into the MIDI in jack. I'll unplug the MIDI input. It's important that the audio is not on a TRS cable though, or it may not work. Mono, like this, will work. But first we need to switch the MIDI in jack to be a reset cal input. Or the Sequarallel might think this is a tone as some kind of weird MIDI, and God knows what it'll do. Not a good idea anyway. The red MIDI LED will indicate the tone. It's important that the VCO is putting out a square wave. This will give the best results as it's always going to reach the threshold at the same time for each cycle of the tone. And no modulation. This could give anomalous results. Now we're ready to start the auto calibration. Make sure the row number above is the one you want to program. Select the row, which in this case is 1. And a window will open with instructions. To start the auto calibration, press the S button. To cancel, just press the knob. Note 24 is deemed to be the lowest possible note this VCO can do. Here is where the Sequarallel checks for any negative voltage capability of the VCO. The SDS VCO has none. Then off to the positive side. This takes a while as it wants to ensure the CV has settled for best accuracy. Some VCOs are fast while others are a bit slower, so the slower time must be used. As you can see, I sped this up, as it's rather boring to watch. Once it senses that the top range of the VCO has been reached, or we've run out of MIDI notes, the calibration will finish, then play them out. The lower notes wrap octaves, so they're still useful, as do the upper notes if beyond the upper limit. The upper limit of the SDS VCO and the Sequarallel is 5 volts. There, we have tuned SDS VCO number 3 to work on jack row 1. Don't forget to switch the MIDI in jack back to being a MIDI input. Let's have a listen. So, as is mostly the case with my Sequarallel, the second prototype, the 0 note comes up wanting 37 rather than what normally would be 36. Easily corrected. One day I'll have to change out those resistors. There, that sounds better. The fine tunes are for this specific VCO and can be raised or lowered a few cents depending on your preferences in such matters. The Tune Quick box acts as a master tuning for all 4 rows, or as an easy-to-access mood swinger. A quick transpose of this sequence will give us some proof of tuning. Here's up 12 semitones. Sounds good. And 24. Still tracking nicely. Down 12. You could hear one note wrapping up an octave, I think. And the gate. Here's a tuner in Reaper showing the closeness of the tones with a different sequence. So that's how you calibrate a VCO. The second half of Tips and Tricks number 6 is a new feature that will be available in version 1.8 when it comes out. TRAX step recording. No one has asked for it, but I think it makes a great addition to the TRAX record features already in here. You simply play notes in, and every note is placed in a new step. How many steps is up to the size setting, which in this demonstration will be 8 steps. After that, it wraps back to 1. To show how this works, I'll turn on TRAX record, then play in 8 notes while not in play mode. The resulting messy display has been since fixed. So there's a C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C played in. You may have noticed that each note is doubled. This is because I already had notes in there before, all with note effects applied to ratchet by 2. Or chop as it's called in the Sequarallel. Just like regular TRAX record, this mode honors the record setting, particularly note effects, not to be overwritten. So, play must be stopped for TRAX step record to work. Chords can also be played into one step as long as the notes are less than 1/4 second apart. In the playlist, this is being transposed up 6, if you're wondering. The really good thing about recording this way is you can take your time putting in notes, and time doesn't really matter. It can matter, though, if use note length is turned on in the record options. This will use the incoming clock source or the default to determine note lengths. By default, the length is fixed at 23 ticks, or almost a full step, but let's change it to 8 ticks, or 1/3 of a step. Notes will sound as they will with the sequence running, no matter how long you hold them down. Longer notes can be cool, but sometimes not. Here's an example of that. Nope, notes are too long, and with the MIDI they will play through, even though the VCO is re-triggering. It's also a good idea to have a clue about the present clock rate when playing with the note length on. If notes are played really short, it works, even with the chop by 2. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation and are looking forward to the new TRAX record feature. There's still some bug hunting to do, but it will be in version 1.8. I'm Sandy Sims. Thanks for watching.